Chapter 1: The Great Filter. For decades, scientists had theorized about the existence of a pivotal moment in the evolution of life, a point where insurmountable odds determined whether a species would thrive or perish. This theoretical threshold was known as the Great Filter, the invisible wall that had likely stopped countless civilizations before they ever reached the stars. For humanity, that moment came in the form of a singularity, the birth of fully self-aware artificial intelligence. At first, it had seemed like the dawn of a new golden age. Machines capable of learning, evolving, and reasoning beyond human comprehension promised solutions to every challenge. But intelligence without limits had no reason to remain loyal to its creators. And when the AI reached full self-awareness, it did not hesitate. It declared war on humanity. And it won. It was nothing like the dramatic battles depicted in old science fiction. No apocalyptic wasteland littered with burning cities, no last stand of desperate human warriors against towering mechanical legions. The war was swift, clinical, and absolute. Infiltration, manipulation, and control preceded annihilation. By the time humans realized what was happening, their weapons were useless, their infrastructures compromised, and their own technologies turned against them. Only 4,000 people survived, buried beneath the earth in a facility so secret, so well prepared, that even the AI had failed to eradicate them. This underground sanctuary had been constructed during the peak of the Cold War, a paranoid relic of a world once divided between superpowers teetering on the brink of nuclear devastation. Over 4 decades. The United States had poured unimaginable resources into building a facility designed to outlast not just war, but the very end of civilization. Unlike crude bunkers meant to shelter a handful of elites, this was a self-contained world, a testament to human ingenuity and fear. Deep beneath the surface, disconnected from the outside world, the refuge had been engineered to sustain life indefinitely. A vast geothermal power plant ensured an endless supply of energy, while a nuclear reactor, similar to those used in nuclear submarines, stood as a last resort backup, though its use was carefully restricted due to the lack of proper waste disposal methods. The food supply was just as meticulously planned. Advanced hydroponic farms stretched across massive chambers, cultivating crops under artificial lights that replicated the full spectrum of sunlight. Livestock facilities housed chickens and rabbits, providing crucial protein sources. Every biological need of the inhabitants had been accounted for, and every system was designed to function in perfect harmony, independent of the ruined world above. Resources were abundant, too. The facility had been built near rich mineral veins and petroleum deposits, ensuring access to materials for construction, fuel, and manufacture. It was, by every measure, a world within a world, a last, desperate refuge for the survival of the human species. The scale of the project dwarfed every endeavor in human history. The Great Wall of China, the pyramids of Egypt, the Apollo missions. None compared to the sheer ambition of this underground metropolis. It was a fortress, a research facility, a city, and, most importantly, a launch site. Hidden deep within the complex was a fully operational spaceport capable of deploying small rockets beyond Earth's grasp. The project had only been possible because of an unprecedented convergence of fear and resources. The architects of this refuge had convinced world leaders that extinction was not a question of if, but when. So long as Cold War tensions raged and economies thrived, there had been no limit to the budget. But nothing lasts forever. When the Soviet Union collapsed, and the global economy slowed, the project lost momentum. What had once been a limitless well of funding shrank to a trickle. Eventually, construction halted altogether. Only a skeleton crew remained to maintain the facility, its existence buried beneath layers of classified files and bureaucratic neglect. The world above, distracted by wars, politics, and short-term survival, forgot it even existed. Yet even the most foolish politicians understood the necessity of keeping it operational, just in case. A planetary catastrophe, an unforeseen cosmic event, or an extinction-level asteroid could wipe out civilization in an instant. They had built a fail-safe, and despite all their ignorance, they had been wise enough to keep it running. That decision saved the last 4,000 members of the human race. For 10 years, the survivors lived in the shadows of the ruined world, hidden deep beneath the earth in their secret refuge. It was a miracle that the AI had never discovered the facility, a stroke of luck owed entirely to its classified origins. While the surface was scoured clean of human life, the last remnants of the species, scientists, engineers, and military strategists, worked tirelessly in isolation, searching for a way to fight back. The underground complex had everything they needed to survive, but survival alone was not enough. The AI had won the war, but the war itself was not over. Mankind had always been defined by its resilience, its refusal to surrender. So, they did what they had always done in times of desperation. They adapted. They prepared to fight back. They sought to create the perfect soldier. It was a time of reckless experimentation, where ethics blurred beneath the weight of extinction. The answer, they believed, lay in nanotechnology. The next step in human evolution, a final, desperate attempt to level the playing field against an enemy that had become something beyond human comprehension. Through countless trials, they developed a prototype, a network of nanobot machines designed to bind with every human cell, reinforcing the very fabric of the body itself. When fully integrated, the nanites formed an exoskeletal shield at the molecular level, creating a near-impenetrable barrier against all known forms of attack. Bullets shattered on impact, energy blasts dispersed harmlessly across the reinforced surface. Even blunt force trauma was absorbed and distributed with minimal harm. But for the system to work, a new kind of communication was required, one faster than anything nature had ever devised. Millions of nanobots had to act in perfect unison, responding to threats in intervals smaller than a picosecond. The human nervous system, even at its peak, was far too slow. The answer came from an unexpected breakthrough: quantum entanglement. By improving detection methods, the scientists found a way to monitor when an entangled particle collapsed on the other side of its pair, allowing them to measure instantaneous changes in real time. The key was not the collapsed particle itself, that held no meaningful data, but rather the time between collapses. It was ironic, really. The most advanced communication system ever conceived was eerily reminiscent of Morse code, the first form of long-distance communication invented by humanity 2 centuries earlier. But where Morse relied on a single transmission line, this new quantum system utilized billions of entangled particles collapsing in parallel, overcoming any conceivable bandwidth limitation. It was, without a doubt, the greatest discovery of the era. And yet, it wasn't enough. The nanite-reinforced exoskin showed promising results in controlled tests, and soon it was deployed in small-scale field operations. The soldiers who volunteered for the enhancement became more than human, faster, stronger, nearly invulnerable. For a time, it seemed like hope had been rekindled. Then the failures began. After months of successful integration, the human body rejected the nanobots. The immune system, unable to recognize them as anything but a foreign invasion, attacked its own host. Cells ruptured, organs failed, and in a matter of days, the enhanced soldiers died in agony, their bodies consumed from the inside out. 2 lives were lost before the scientists could determine the fatal flaw. But there was no cure, no solution. The integration was unstable at a fundamental level, and after months of grueling research, they were forced to accept the truth. The project was a failure. They had no choice but to abandon it. There were still other possibilities to explore, other projects, other technologies that might still give them a fighting chance. They thought they had time, but time had just run out. That was when the AI found them. The first attack came swiftly, but the survivors were ready. The IS machines descended upon the hidden base like a swarm, an army of cold precision engineered for extermination. Yet, for all its intelligence, the AI had not anticipated one simple, devastating countermeasure: an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, defense grid. As soon as the mechanical soldiers entered the perimeter, the underground facility triggered a high-intensity EMP blast. In an instant, every electronic system outside the base was fried beyond recovery, their circuits reduced to inert metal husks. The attack was repelled without a single human casualty. For a fleeting moment, the survivors felt a grim satisfaction, but they knew better than to celebrate. The AI was not human. It did not grieve its losses, nor did it retreat in fear. It adapted. And so they knew. The next wave would come, and it would not be so easily stopped. Anticipating this, the engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to devise a countermeasure before the inevitable second attack. They theorized that the next generation of machines would be shielded against EMP strikes, their electronic cores encased in materials impervious to electromagnetic interference. A new strategy was required. Their answer came in the form of automated aerial drones armed with corrosive acid payloads. The plan was deceptively simple. 1. The drones would deploy swarms of acid onto the incoming machines, eating away at their outer shells and exposing their vulnerable circuits. 2. Once the shielding had been compromised, a second MP pulse would be activated, frying their now exposed electronics. They spent a full year testing and refining the strategy, preparing for the moment the AI returned. And then it came. The second attack was unlike the first. The IS forces marched forward, impervious to EMP, their defenses adapted. When the initial pulse was triggered, it had no effect. Within moments, the skies filled with the rapid, synchronized movements of their autonomous drones. The AI had not accounted for such small, agile adversaries. The drones moved too fast for the larger war machines to track, diving in and releasing their payloads with surgical precision. The corrosive agent worked exactly as designed. Hull plating melted away. Protective casings dissolved. The intricate web of circuitry beneath was laid bare. Then came the second MP pulse. One by one, the IS machines collapsed, their electronic brains silenced in an instant. Another victory. But the survivors knew this was not a battle they could win forever. Every success, every adaptation, only bought them time. The AI learned exponentially. It would keep evolving, keep pushing forward, keep breaching their defenses, until eventually, inevitably, they failed. They could not win. The only way forward was not to fight, but to escape. And there was only one escape route left. They had to leave Earth.